Hello, and welcome to the Payments Interviews, the podcast where industry leaders share their wisdom and insight. I'm Paul Skelton. I'm a payments headhunter who helps payments companies find exceptional sales executives. Enjoy the show. And today, I'm with Justin and Hanna. Hi, Justin.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Perhaps you can introduce yourself so we
Sure.
all know about you, or for
Definitely.
those that don't know about you already.
Justin Hanna, I'm the head of sales at NomuPay. I've been in payments now for 15 years, which is scary, and leader for the last few of them. Really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot from people that were good, and I've learned a lot from people that weren't so good. It's definitely shaped the person I am today. So really excited to talk a little bit through it. And again, thanks for the invite.
Pleasure. So we're going to talk first of all about your upbringing and your formative stages. And at the end, as a bit of a treat, a few people have sent in questions for you due to your ever-growing reputation within this world. So there's hopefully a bit of fun we can have with that. So perhaps you can tell me a little bit about the start of your life and your upbringing first.
Yeah, sure. So I'm one of four. I have three sisters. I think that probably shaped me more than anything to the way that I am today, being beaten up by them for years. I think my mum, for me, was someone I always thought was the oracle. She taught me everything that I knew for such a long period of my time. Hard work, determination, do your homework before anything else. And I think for me, it made me hungry to want to earn as much money as I could, the way that maybe my upbringing was, to try and earn for myself and the people around me. I think from the age of 13, I had a paper round, worked on the market, had 2 or 3 jobs by the time I was 14, because I wanted to try and earn money for myself to be able to spend on things. And I think up until I was 23, 24, I still had 2 jobs. I worked in a bar for 10 years, was having other roles. Definitely working in a bar was a big opening of life for me. If you can convince drunk people to do normal things, you can convince sober people to do that, right? And I think I went to university and I hated university.
Okay, what's that?
Structure was something that I probably struggled with to begin with because I was given too much freedom.
Okay.
Sounds a little bit crazy. I was given too much freedom.
Oh, I get it.
As a 17, 18-year-old guy, boy, to be able to say, "Hey, just do what you want, just hand this bit of paperwork in on time." I really struggled to get my head around it. So for me, getting a job at a bank through a friend was the best thing for me because it was real structure. I think university was the complete opposite, and I just seen it as partying as much as I could with friends, which is still fantastic. I really enjoyed that, but you have to balance that.
Okay.
So getting a job in Barclays was the best thing for me at that time, and definitely was able to put me on a right career path.
Okay, so before we get into Barclays, you mentioned, there's a fair amount to unpack in that. You said that motivation was that you wanted to earn as much money as you possibly could. What did you want to do with that?
What does any 18 or 19-year-old want to do with money? The answer is spend it on themselves a lot of the time.
Okay.
For me, myself, my upbringing, it was to have some money for myself to be able to do things, go on holiday. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go out the country unless it was on a school trip. So. And that's not necessarily I come from the worst part in life, but it was definitely good to be able to have money for myself and not be reliant on my mother who had 4 kids to look after.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it was fantastic for me to have that kind of drive to the harder I work, the more money I earn. And that's kind of stayed with me through my life. And that's probably why I moved into sales after a certain part of my career, so I could try and be in charge of my own future.
Okay. And so why sales? Was it, I can see the line here between effort in and money out, or was there something else? Because a lot of people, in my experience, including me, kind of fall into sales from not really knowing what else to do. And the majority of people say, I was good with people and a friend said, you should go and do sales.
Yeah, it's full circle for me, I think. I started in operations in my time at Barclaycard. And I really enjoyed working with the salespeople. Not many people in operations enjoy working with salespeople, but maybe it was the salespeople that I was working with during my time that allowed me to enjoy my job a little bit more. And I kind of looked up to people and thought they'll come in their suits and kind of look in the part.
Okay.
I want some of that. Right?
Aspirational.
Yeah, it really was. And after I left Barclaycard, I'm going to more detail. I joined WorldPay, moved into a commercial role. Again, WorldPay was the best business I've ever worked for. It was an incredible time there. My boss moved me into a sales role because he said, you've just got it, that kind of DNA. I enjoyed winning a lot. I probably maybe having a sporting background, playing football from such a young age definitely helped with that.
Okay.
If I can win and also earn money to do what I wanted to do, who wouldn't want to do that? And I've had a conversation with many people. Now, most people that work in sales do it because they want to earn money. That doesn't mean that everybody wants to do that, but it's a huge driver for most people moving to a sales role, which then kind of goes against maybe working the average 9 to 5. It's just a fact of the matter. And for me at the time, I would work as many hours as I could and as much as I can.
Interesting. Yeah, sales. I ask this question a lot. People interview. Obviously, sales is my area. Money is definitely one of the biggest ones up there. It becomes less important for obvious reasons later in people's career when it definitely, the challenge is the thing. Have you found that as your career has gone on, the challenge has become more the thing, or is it still money for you?
I think having children has absolutely made me think more about the role that I'm doing and where I want to be, as opposed to just earning as much money for the sake of earning money. It's can I provide for my wife and children and their future? It's definitely changed the way I think about life. Annual leave is annual leave. Doesn't mean I might check my emails, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be on my laptop for 4 hours whilst I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
It's being contactable, but actually being present is more important to me right now for my family.
Absolutely.
Especially at such a young age, I want to be able to spend time with them, good time with them. And I want them to grow up not thinking, oh, my dad does his work.
Yeah.
I think maybe you look at the generation before us, it very much was dad is out at work all day, mum's at home with the children. I don't want that. My wife has a career. I want her to be successful. It's not on her or me just to raise our kids. It's on us to raise our kids and help each other with our own careers. And my wife's doing a great job within her career. So it's my job to ensure that I'm also laying the foundations for us all to succeed.
Yeah, it's the purest of feedback, isn't it? Asking your children, oh, I spend enough time with you here. Absolutely. My children are always on to both of us if they think that we're on our phones. Like we have to keep it out of the room if we're having dinner, anything like that. And there's always like, I was just looking at this and I just need to send that. And they look at you as if to say, do you?
It's always just sending a quick email.
Yeah.
And the email can wait.
Yeah.
And I have found it difficult to switch off, because when you've been doing something straight for the last 13 years and you're available all day, every day, suddenly you just stop. It's not necessarily an addiction, but I think people are addicted.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of proven, isn't it? But anyway, we've obviously spoken a few times before, and you mentioned that in your career, Barclaycard was the grounding, and then WorldPay in particular, role models became much more important to you and much more of a theme. Perhaps you can tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. My time at WorldPay, I worked with people that had degrees from all over the world in all different kind of industries. I worked with some of the hardest people I've ever worked with. I probably also worked with some of the laziest people I've ever worked with. But when it comes,
I'm now going to name check.
But when it comes to leaders, I had two managers kind of at the same time who are very different from each other, but I learned so much from them that has 100% stayed with me until now, on the way that I manage people, the questions that I ask, and also kind of the empathy that I show. I think that's quite an interesting piece when you go from being an individual contributor to maybe being a leader, is empathy. And many people do struggle with that as leaders, because you feel like you have to be harsh on people all the time. And I think it probably shows more from having a little bit of empathy for the people that you'll manage will long-term allow you to have a better relationship with them. But I think it allows your team to find you a little bit more approachable.
Okay. So a lot of the time when people say that, it comes from having worked for someone who showed no empathy. Is that something that informed your thinking on this?
I definitely have worked with someone that's had no empathy, and it's had a huge impact on the way that I now lead people. 1,000,000%. And not even just people that I'm a manager of, also people in other departments. I actually care about if people had a good weekend. I care about their partners. I care about their children, because I feel like the job that I do every single day is going to have an impact on the life that they go home to. And I just couldn't think of anything worse than someone going home and thinking, I've had a bad day because of Justin, because I know that I've gone home from work and had a bad day because of an individual leader. And I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. Also, you can't just go home and not be stressed after work. It happens. It's life. But being stressed at work is a lot different than being stressed at an individual at work. And sometimes, am I too friendly? I don't know. To try to be too nice, and you have to play that bad cop hard sometimes, but I always want the individuals to know that I want the best for them.
Okay, interesting. So it's obviously something you care about a lot and put a lot of thought into. And you've mentioned to me before, striking the balance is something that's hard. And I think that's quite a classic problem, isn't it? When you become a boss, there's very rarely been a program where people say, so you're now a boss and these are the things you need to do. And just because you're good at sales doesn't mean you're going to be good at being a boss. They're very different things, aren't they?
Definitely.
So did you find that you had the support you needed to do it, or that you've learned far more on the job, as it were? Or was it from other people that you copied what they did?
I think I've probably learned more from seeing people not do it as well than I have from seeing people do it well. Because if you're a manager of people, you don't need to always be a good manager of people to become a good manager of people. What I mean by that is, if you're an authentic and empathetic and a nice person, actually kind of whatever job you're doing should be made a little bit easier if you are in charge of people, because you should have their best interests at heart. And that's where I think a lot of leaders people that become leaders have struggled, because they don't always have people's best interests at heart, especially if they've been old salespeople, because they've been individual contributors, but all they've had to care about is their calendar, their numbers, their pipeline, their prospects. And all of a sudden you've got to care about someone else's, but also their life.
Yeah.
And that's that should come first, and not just pipeline. Like, if someone's not hitting the numbers, I don't believe it's just because that salesperson's not good enough at selling. There's a lot more involved in that. And your job as a leader is to give your team all the tools to succeed. That's not just physical tools. That's not just a sales tool, right? It's actually understanding that individual as a person, and not everybody is the same. It doesn't mean you have to go through millions of tests to see and understand a person, but sit down with someone, understand what's going on in their world. And if they want to open up, they will. If they don't, that's fine. But ensure that the person you're managing understands what you want from them and they want from you. And sometimes it doesn't seem to go both ways. It seems to go, you're hitting your numbers, why not? Really get to the bottom of things.
Yeah, there's always a responsibility, I think, as a leader as well, to weigh your words when you're talking to people, because I think you'll probably relate to this. With bad bosses, you can remember things that they've said as sound bites and think, that was terrible. I can remember I had a boss once who could have put something in a very positive way, similar to you, could have said, I like to give people freedom and support so they can go and do their jobs. Someone I've spoken to here before has said, it's good to tell people what they need to achieve and then give them freedom to achieve it. The way he put it was, I like to give my people just enough rope so they can hang themselves. And I thought, how can that possibly engender any kind of loyalty, trust, security? So I think you have to weigh your words, don't you, as a leader?
Definitely. One of the best leaders that I've ever worked with once said to me, because I kept saying that I understood things and I didn't understand it, but I was too nervous to say I didn't understand it. It went through kind of a project that we're working on, and he knew that I didn't understand it. But what he didn't want to do is tell me I didn't understand it. So when we went to do the presentation, and I was terrible. He was expecting that because he knew that I wasn't understanding it. And it wasn't until we sat down after, he said, don't say you understand something if you do not understand it. And to me, that's the biggest thing I've learned probably in my career. As a leader, you need to be able to ensure that your people can come to you and say, I do not understand them. And that is based on a relationship that you have with people that you're working with and for.
Okay. So interestingly, do you regard it was a he, I think you said, what he did there to have been a really good lesson for you? Or did you think, why did you not call me out on that before I publicly threw myself? Yeah,
it's a really interesting one. I don't know the right answer, but it worked for me.
Okay.
Would I do it for someone now? I don't know. Probably not. But that's because I'm a different kind of person.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong, because what he did worked.
Okay.
Absolutely worked. So I think, understanding the role that you're doing is huge for me.
Okay. So you said, I think you said earlier, and you certainly said to me before, it frustrates me to think that people might have something bad to say about me. Elaborate on that. Where does that come from?
And it's not a vanity play. And it's not just a professional piece. I want to be the kind of person that people think is a nice guy. And that comes with more than just doing a good job. It comes with caring and being authentic. So the same person I am from 9 to 5 with my work colleagues is the same person I am in front of a customer, which is the same person I'm with my friends, the same person I'm with my family. And it hasn't always gone the best way because I try to go the extra mile for everybody. But for me, if a group of friends in the payments industry went to the pub together and they were having a drink and my name popped up, the thought of there being a negative conversation there eats away at me unnecessarily.
It's interesting. Okay.
But it also impacts things that I do every single day. That could be helping people find roles that I don't work with, but I want everyone to succeed. Is it cliche? Absolutely. Do I do it? Yes. Because there's no reason why not everyone should be successful in the industry that we're in. And I think good people deserve good things. And if I can help impact that, why would I sit there and not try to help?
Okay, that's interesting and admirable, and I've seen evidence of that in the way you behave in the dealings we've had. So I can totally believe you do that. But is that something you think, I want to work on that because I want to get to a stage where I know I'm a good person, I know I'm doing the right things, and so I can't have everybody like me. If some people don't like me, I know I'm doing the right things and I can live with that now.
I think sometimes it is something I want to work on. And look, good guys don't always have to be nice guys. But I've really struggled with understanding that because sometimes good guys can be nice people. I've always tried to be doing good things with good intentions all the time. I just want to be that person where people have got good things to say for the right reasons.
Okay, got you. So going back into the career side then, so WorldPay, very formative for you. Before getting into the kind of differences that you experienced having left WorldPay and going to a startup, what parts of your experience there still inform the way you think today? What kind of lessons do you think I learned from those people and I still make sure I do that on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think attention to detail was something I learned very much so at WorldPay on the deals.
Okay.
But also the people that I manage, making sure that they understand their deals. Is sometimes in sales, attention to detail can be poor. CRM data can be poor because salespeople are always looking outwards and not sometimes looking inwards. So I think attention to detail is something I definitely learned. But also asking the extra question.
Okay.
Not just on the deals, but also internally. Can I go and explain this business model to my risk team? Can I explain this business model to my onboarding team? So who in the business can help you close that deal? By moving from working at WorldPay, you had a lot of help around people around you, right? Such a huge organization, and you had technical implementation managers, you had other salespeople, you had lots of managers, you had product people. I learned from WorldPay is you need to explain to people what their role in that deal is.
Okay. Why was that so important? I've got my views on why that is, but I'm interested in your...
A couple of reasons. People don't always like buying from salespeople, whether we like it or not. What they do like to buy from is credible people in the business that are not necessarily incentivized by deal winning.
Okay.
So whether it's a product manager, whether it's an implementation consultant, them guys selling to people that do their roles is a lot easier than a salesperson. I can sit here right now and say, from a technical background, more people close my deals on some huge enterprise businesses because of credibility and trust. And that's something that I always take forward with me. So the setup that we had there, I'd love to be able to implement in any of the business that I work for to ensure that more people are involved in a deal.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely something in that, isn't there? Like, people are very wary of people overstepping their area of expertise. And so if you've got people there who can essentially say, let them speak to you and answer this one because they'll give you the facts, I think that goes a long way. I agree with that. Okay. So having moved to a startup, what did you learn from the experience of going to one, and what happened that you didn't expect from going into that?
I think the biggest piece about moving from a huge corporate business to a startup is the brand doesn't open doors. So you don't have a big brand behind you. Say, hey, I work from A, and people say, tell us your best price. You really have to start from the bottom and understand the why. Why us? Why did I move here? What are we doing for the industry that no one else is doing today? How are we going to make their lives easier? But again, still starting with how am I going to win business? Where to start? If you have no pipeline, CRM, whatever it may be, no content to be able to share with people, you really are starting with a completely fresh page, which comes with its problems, and especially for me, anxiety with it is I'm going to have X amount of expectation to bring back to this business in a couple of months' time, bringing in revenue. I remember sitting thinking, what have I done? What have I done? Have I bitten off more than I can chew here? Was I chasing a role? Was I chasing a salary? Or am I good enough to do this role? And it took me a long time to realize I think I can do it. Even when you start signing deals, I think I signed my first deal in about 6 weeks, which is great. I was really, really happy with it.
Yeah.
But then I building too much expectation. And I always say there's a lot of sales is luck. Sometimes it's opportunistic, sometimes it is luck. I think I would say one of my biggest deals that I've won in my career was luck. But you earn that right by being constant, being top of mind when the challenge before your ICP, your prospect is there. You need to be the person they're thinking about. It's probably definitely helped me with some deals that I've won in the past. And do I believe there's a little black book in sales anymore? In B2B sales and SaaS? I don't know if there is a little black book anymore, or low-hanging fruit. Maybe that's the worst term when it comes to sales, but it's unnecessary pressure on salespeople.
Okay. Well, yeah, and on the counter side of your point about luck is there'd be deals that you didn't win because of just bad luck.
Yeah, very true.
The wrong place at the wrong
time.
That's
very true. And there's been deals where I feel like with the cheapest price, the best product, the best relationship with the decision maker, and you're thinking, this is going to happen. Everyone's getting excited. You come back from the meeting, everyone's giving themselves a slap on the back, can't wait for the contract to be signed, and then it just goes dead. What people always need to remember that, and I always say, is if you've done everything you cannot beat yourself up. A lot easier said than done, but it's the absolute truth. And I had it just recently, a prospect come to us and said, your competitor is doing it at half the price. I'm happy to walk away from that deal because the cost of business is cost of business. And if it's half the price, then it might be half the service. And salespeople hate saying no because they're so used to saying yes. But I can guarantee the power of saying no has done me more good than the power of saying yes for certain deals.
Yeah, and I agree. And that only really comes once you've learned the hard lesson, which most of us learn the wrong way, like me, is that if you've only got two things to worry about, you'll spend 50% of your time worrying about one, 50% about the other. But if you've got 10 deals on the go, then all of a sudden one deal in isolation doesn't have quite the same effect. You don't have to worry quite so much. But yeah, and price is always interesting as well. It's something that affects what I do as well. There's always someone that does something cheaper, and you've got to learn to be comfortable with that. For the analogy that I always think of is there are certain places you can go to get your eyes lasered for quite an inexpensive amount of money. Personally, I don't want to entrust my eye to somebody that's doing it the cheapest. I'd rather pay as much as possible and have as many case studies as possible that the money's worth it, which is exactly what I did when I got my eyes lasered. So I've heard horror stories of people who've gone the other way.
Look, if you look at the payments companies, some of the biggest payments companies over the last 15 years that have been doing it better than anybody else, whether you like it or not, are definitely not the cheapest. But the reason why they're growing X% year on year is because the product is working and it's doing better than maybe what the cheaper guys have done in the past. So sometimes if it's too good to be true, it normally is. But buyers are doing their research more than ever before, right? So you need to make sure you're in the buyer's mind even before it comes to looking to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And embrace the price premium sometimes. I mean, look at what Stella Artois did 20 years ago. Reassuringly expensive was their thing. They lent into it.
Yeah.
Different world, but still. Okay, so in terms of your approach to business development then, how has that evolved over time? Because I'm sure it has evolved.
Look, I think the B2B buyer experience has changed significantly over the last 5 to 10 years. If you rewind 10 years ago, it was get as many SDRs as you can and hit the phones, right? Old school US way of selling business. And it absolutely worked. However, what has come to happen, and this is kind of the internet has allowed people to do this, is people do their research a lot more than what they've ever done.
It's never been easier to do,
It's never been easier. So people are doing 70 to 80% of the research before speaking to a salesperson. So your job shouldn't be open doors all the time. It should be making sure you're in that 70 to 80% of the research being complete. An example of that for me as a consumer is before you go on a holiday, there's a good chance you're probably going to look at that hotel, not just on the travel agent's website. You might look on Instagram. You may look on TikTok. You'll do your research before you buy. And the B2B buyer experience is becoming so much like that B2C buyer experience. But a lot of B2B brands still haven't clocked on to the fact that you need to be in that research. So a question I'd always ask is, you have your ICP. If they were to name 3 payments businesses right now, are you in the top 3? And if you're not, why are you trying to sell to somebody? That would be my question to people. So what I noticed was, from doing literally millions of emails, cold calls, attending events, and not enough people knowing who I was, how can I get in front of my ICP without really pissing them off? Apologies. How can I get in front of them without annoying them, without tarnishing a potential relationship, by hammering on the door, by sending 14 emails, 14 messages on LinkedIn, 14 cold calls, just to be shut down all the time? So working with a colleague that we hired as an SDR, actually, a guy called George, who's fantastic.
Yeah, I know
within
George
6
now.
weeks, he told me to try to stop sending cold emails all the time, but actually try and get in front of these customers every single day without annoying them. And after sending me millions of podcasts and blogs, he started saying, well, why don't you just try and get them to see you? LinkedIn post to begin with, because so many people go on LinkedIn. It's an untapped social media platform. It isn't now, but 2.5 years ago, and it was only 2.5 years ago, people were logging onto LinkedIn every day. And all they really seemed to get was salespeople resharing posts about their company that they work for, or finding new jobs,
industry reports, data,
or people just messaging them on LinkedIn asking if they've got potential synergies where they could work together, right? People just don't like to see that. So there's lots of conversations internally around what can we try to do. Was, we'll tell people what we do as our jobs. Don't just talk about how we help the world when it comes to payments. How do people see that?
What problems do we solve?
How do you build credibility? How do you build trust? It's you as a person as opposed to the business that you work for. And I think that's probably been the biggest switch in the last 5 years is people are looking to speak to people. And that's not saying people buy from people. That's always been a thing. But actually people are looking for the individuals behind a brand as opposed to the brand behind the individuals. So I'm kind of made it my mission to talk about payments, the challenges that my ICPs have. So if you work in X industry, I should know really, as an industry expert in payments and your field, what your challenges are. So I talk about your challenges without just trying to say we're the best, because then people, when they start reading, they go, oh, he understands me.
Yeah.
And he's not trying to sell to me. So then they want to follow that story. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, humans love hearing people's challenges, right? This is why we watch so much on TV and videos. Why do we watch thrillers? Because you want to see people get a little bit nervous, whether it's good or bad. So I just started kind of talking about my life and the challenge that I have every single day, whether that's talking about sales and how frustrating it is when someone's emailing back and forth and stops replying, whether that's talking about a challenge in an industry, or whether it's talking about myself as a person, talking about my children, talking about my wife, whatever it may be. And then slowly, after a few weeks or a few months, I'd actually be able to pick up the phone to someone and go, oh yeah, I've seen your face before, or go to an event. And then I kind of, the penny dropped for me after about 3 or 4 months of posting, was when my ICP messaged me on LinkedIn and said, hi Justin, we're just about to work on a project. Can I get some help? Now, I've tried to message this guy 4 times on LinkedIn over the last 3 years, and he never replied. He was my ICP, but he had no idea who I was or how I could help him. And then all of a sudden, he sees me every single day talking about his industry and how I've worked with other businesses. So why wouldn't you think of me when he was having a challenge? I need to be the first person he thinks of. For me, that was when the penny dropped. I was like, I need to really hone in on this and be posting every single day, trying to add all of my ICPs without trying to hammer them with cold pitches.
Okay, so for someone that's as thoughtful as you, how long did it take for you to get over the mental hurdle of, oh, there's going to be people that don't want to see this? Because
still have it today.
Yeah, because the advice that I give to candidates that are looking to find work is that they need to just realize that they shouldn't try and appeal to everybody, because then they'll appeal to nobody. They should be specific about what problems they solve, and they should not worry about the fact that there'll be a percentage of people that won't want to see them, because if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one, trying to appeal to somebody. So how long did it take for you to get over that?
I mean, I think I still kind of do have it now. I think it's a sales strategy for me, LinkedIn is. If I'm going to cold call, I'm going to cold email, I'm going to go to events, I'm going to post on LinkedIn. And that's the way that I see it. So when I send a cold email, if I was to send that to 15 different people, one might open it. When I post on LinkedIn, one person might see it. Mm-hmm. So it's a numbers game, just like it is for any other sales channel. It doesn't necessarily mean that that long-term strategy is not going to have a short-term benefit, because I see mine within 6-7 weeks, which is great. If I had my ICP message every single week, that'd be fantastic. It doesn't happen.
Sure.
But I think for me, it's built credibility in some industries where maybe I didn't have it before. And also there's so many payment companies out there, right? There's more salespeople than ever before. There's more payment companies than ever before. There's more ways of getting in front of your ICPs via AI than ever before. The only difference I'm able to give really right now compared to our competitors is that my ICP gets to see my face talking every single day. If that's going to win me business, great. If it's not going to win me business, what else could I do that's different? So if I was to compare myself with someone who's got the exact same CV as me, that their ICP doesn't see them every single day, then I'd have to hope that someone would say, hey, Justin might know the answer. Have I lost deals because people get annoyed seeing my LinkedIn? I don't know. Hopefully not. But, and it is a big but, LinkedIn is not just about me trying to win business for sales. It's about growing my own network as well. So whether that's applying for a job, whether that's whether I'm going to hire people, whether that's our business looking for investors, whatever it may be, I've helped people find jobs, and I've had people come to me to try and get a job because they've seen what I can do on LinkedIn. What more can I do is what I would kind of, my question back be. Is LinkedIn the be all and end all? Absolutely not. It really is not. But right now it's the only platform where in B2B sales, you're able to see your ICP every day and they're able to see you without having to pay a penny. Kind of like a 24/7 conference, right? Because you're able to see people and message people and hear from them all the time.
I agree with all of that. It feels like it's something that people are catching up to now, that your USP in any line of work really is yourself. And so you need for people to have exposure to that so they can make a decision one way or another fairly quickly. And it's not everyone's going to say yes, because that's completely unrealistic. But actually, like you say, if people, the number one reason why people don't buy from you is because they don't know who you are. So if you can actually get yourself in front of them, that can only help matters.
Yeah, I think there's also a problem with LinkedIn, right? Because now it's full of a lot of people saying they're the best at what they do, right? They're going to grow people's brands. They're going to do this, and it's AI all over the place. You can log on to LinkedIn right now and you will see an AI post in 2 minutes. That's then pushing people away from the exact thing that people are going on there to do. Yeah. So someone's going to need to catch up soon. There will be something different, and that's probably why video is so key, right? Because it's authenticity. You could take my LinkedIn post now, copy it and put it tomorrow, and people wouldn't know unless you were connected with every single person I'm connected with. They just wouldn't know. And that's why video is definitely helped. And I always say it's a Stephen Bartlett effect when it comes to products. Stephen Bartlett has become a product for the Dragon's Den, not just an investor because he's selling the product. So he might not be worth the most, but people are going on to want him because he's selling the product. So that's not me saying I want to be the Stephen Bartlett of payments, but I want the business that I work for to benefit from the work that I'm doing on LinkedIn. And they're the only people that will benefit, because if it comes around sales and I work for a company, they're going to be the business that benefits from the deals that come in. I always want people that are hungry. I want them to be able to not say work as hard as they can, but work as hard as they can to try and deliver revenue for the business and for themselves. Would I hire someone that's got 40 years experience in payments with no social media following compared to someone who's got 2 years in demand generation, has got a following of people that could be our ICP? It's difficult to make that decision, right? And that's where I think demand generation is one of the key aspects now to sales. It's not a marketing function. It's not a sales function. It's someone that it's the department in between where everyone needs to be conscious that you have to always be building demand and creating demand in yourself as an individual that will then provide demand and generation and content that people are interested in for the business that you work for. Tiger Woods wears red on a Sunday, right? That's why Nike was so famous for red Nike t-shirts. All Tiger Woods has had to do is create a completely different brand. It's still red. It's Tiger Woods. That's enough for everyone to stop buying red Nike t-shirts and just buy Tiger Woods t-shirts because it's Tiger Woods. He's the person. So I think businesses have just moved to this influencer type style of branding, and this is why you see it every single day on social media. Someone could be a great salesperson, but if they're not a good person, it's not someone you want to work with. You can talk about bad apples, etc., for businesses, and I really believe in that. When I have my team speaking about what our business does, I want the rest of the business to speak about them in such a positive light.
Okay.
And that's maybe my own experiences of wanting people to have positive things to say about me as I manage a team. I want them to say positive things about the team that I manage, that they care about the people that we're working for. And one thing I always say in sales, that it's never just one person winning a deal, it's a business winning a deal. And you'll be able to manage them expectations and relationships internally as well as externally.
Okay. And if you were going to be passing on advice to somebody about to go into a startup, what would be the advice you'd give them?
That's a good question. I think a couple of things. It's what's the vision of the business? It's a lot easier said than done. If you're the shareholder of a business or a CEO, normally it's to sell the business. And you have certain individuals that take you from 0 to 10 employees, maybe 0 to 30, 0 to 50. And then sometimes you need different leaders to take you from 50 to 100 and different leaders to take you from 100 upwards. So for me, it's understanding the vision of the business that I'm working for, what they want to achieve. The advice that I would give is sit down with every single member of the business already, understand what's working, what's not working.
I asked for a few questions from people. James said, if you weren't working in payments, what would you prefer to be doing? He suggested a couple of roles, one being celebrity gladiators or the masked singer.
I'm still waiting to be called up by the England team. But
Any particular discipline?
I don't think I'm at the next World Cup, football World Cup at all. What would I do? It's a good question. When I was young, I always wanted to be in the police force.
Okay.
That's what I studied when I first went to university, and it just wasn't for me, the structure piece.
Okay.
That's a really good question. I would imagine it'd still be some kind of sales role. It definitely have to be customer facing. I enjoy speaking to people, which isn't always great when my wife go on holiday, because I'll just talk to any Tom, Dick and Harry. But yeah, I enjoy being with people. I really, really enjoy it.
Okay. So definitely something with people, but it sounds like it doesn't really matter what it would be as long as you had that particular strand.
Definitely.
Okay, so but the fantasy job would have been a footballer by the sounds of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe golf now. I'm a little bit older and I can't run about as much.
Okay. Why do you love partnerships teams so much? Came in from Grant.
It was always going to be Grant that said that about partnerships.
Yeah.
Do you know what's been really interesting for me actually? From when I was at WorldPay, it was very much direct sales and partnerships. Moving to a business where building up a partnership function and a direct sales function from scratch between Grant and I was one of the best journeys I've been on when it comes to a commercial team being built. And the reason for that, I never really fully appreciate partnerships beforehand, whereas I've definitely learned by understanding what they're trying to achieve and their customers are trying to achieve, it very much allowed me and my team to achieve. So I think it's key for any payments businesses that has a direct sales team or partnerships teams. There has to be the best of relationships there, from leadership teams down to people on the road, understanding ICPs, understanding the why, understanding why our product wins, understanding who we're going against. There's very much not enough of that going on in the industry right now. So for me, being able to learn what drives successful partnership team absolutely allowed me to drive success for a direct sales team. That comes to culture in a business, right? How often are your finance teams, HR teams, sales teams, marketing teams, partnership teams, operations teams sitting in a room together, understanding the challenges, getting on weekly calls to say why this hasn't worked or that hasn't worked? It's more than just pipeline conversations. There's so much more to understand. Again, it comes back to the culture of a business and understanding what success looks like. That's not just revenue driven. So what are the OKRs or the KPIs of your finance team over the next 12 months?
How important do you think it is as well for those people, those same people, to actually be spending time with each other in a more of a social capacity? Because I found that hugely helpful.
Yeah, it's very, very, very important. A few weeks ago as a team, we went out, not just a commercial team, but with finance team and some of our marketing team. And I found out things that I didn't know about people. which I would never have found out if I didn't go out and have a social catch up with them.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to our piece of caring. We spent 8 hours, 9 hours together every single day. Like, I would want to know what's going on in your life where I can, because I can give advice, or you can give me advice. I've had advice from people that work with, better advice to my friends over the years, right? I think most people could probably vouch for that. I've probably given really good advice to people that I might not have given to my friends. And I think sometimes it's just not thought about enough when trying to build a culture in a business.
No, I agree. There's also sometimes it can backfire in amusing ways. I remember I did this really good residential negotiation course once that was really big in FMCG, where I worked for a large part of my career. And as one part of it, they said, when you go into negotiations, you should do it as a team and bring in other people, which wasn't always the case in FMCG. They said, for example, you could have a finance person in the room keeping tabs on how the negotiation's moving commercially, while you can't concentrate on that if you're the salesperson doing all the talking. And I thought that's actually really good. And my finance guy was a great guy called Alan, and he knew his stuff, very considered, great guy. Used to play football with him as well. So I came back all enthused by this negotiation course and said, look, I'm in Asda next Wednesday. He went, right. And I said, and you're close to the deal. And obviously you've prepared the P&Ls and, the plan over the next 2 years. They were saying on this course, they were saying on the course that, it'd be good to have a finance person that's part of it. You get to feel part of the deal. You actually have a say in some of the stuff you're preparing. He was nodding away. I said, so rather than just putting P&Ls together for me, you're actually part of it that can land the deal. And he went, right, okay, yeah, I get it. And I went, so do you want to do that? And he went, no.
I think we have this in payments as well. You're trying to balance out conversations with a CFO, a CTO, a head of operations. And it's difficult because you're a salesperson. That's what I mentioned before around you've got to find different reasons as to why you're going to win that deal. If that means bringing in one of your technical guys just to kind of peer off with their CTO, and maybe your chief commercial officer to peer off with the CFO, sometimes that's the way you have to win the deals. What I don't like is the saying is the pricing's the last conversation, because it never is, right? Pricing never comes absolutely last. It has to have an understanding that is a big part of most deals that are being signed.
Sure.
But it's just coming to the forefront when you're first discussing the challenges and priorities, is to understanding what is the main concerns and challenges they're having. And I've heard it all before. People say to me, I don't mind paying more as long as this.
Yep.
Which is great. But what they're doing, they're setting up a stall to make sure that they're probably going to bring you down a little bit in a way. Yes, pricing should be last conversation, but it never is and never will be.
Yeah. Well, and also it's a bit of a truism, but often the happiest people are those that end up paying the most because they've seen the value in it.
And everyone should be mutually kind of benefiting from any deal that's signed. Salesperson, business that you're working for, and the person that's buying. You should never walk away from a deal thinking you've not got a good deal. If you don't think you've got a good deal, then it's not the right deal anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So final question then, which is the random one. Somebody said, how much for 3 Jaeger bombs in Balloon Bar?
No comment.
I imagine you probably would struggle to know who that's from.
I would struggle.
But it's from someone I know called Drew Edwards, who used to go to the bar. Do you know Drew?
I know Drew very well.
There we go.
He's a good guy. And the answer's £5, Drew. Thanks for asking. Which he probably already knows, by the way.
Well, yeah, absolutely. When I said I was going to be speaking to you, he said, I know that guy. And I said, oh, go on then. And then, I said, you've got until the weekend's up to come up with something that he'll know who it is. But yeah, there you go.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, there you are. You weren't expecting that.
I was not.
Right. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. I think we've covered everything that we wanted to cover. But thanks very much, Justin. It's been really good speaking to you. Pleasure. I hope you enjoyed today's show. What questions should I have asked? Or what guests would you like me to interview in the future? Please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you'd like any help finding any senior sales executives, then send me a message here or look me up on LinkedIn. Thanks very much for watching.